So welcome along. Just give myself a little bit more room. You need to make sure you've got enough room to the back of the mat to extend your arms. You need your block by the side. And once you've done that, we're going to sit on the floor and lie down on the ground. So you're going to take a little breath and draw the knees in. Just take the hands on top of the knees and let ourselves make some circles. So they don't have to be the biggest circles. And I would suggest just running very slowly with these. The reason is that we just want to get a little bit of juice into the joints and into the muscles. So they don't have to be the biggest circles ever. We're not looking for maximum range. We're just getting a little bit of blood moving around. And then we'll take it the opposite direction. And then for fun, one knee in one direction and one knee the opposite. And reverse that up. And then we'll bring the feet down to the floor. Take the arms nice and wide, have the feet together. And we'll take a little spinal twist. So we'll let the legs go over to that left side first of all. Take a couple of breaths just to let the lower back and the obliques stretch out a little bit, especially if you had a day stuck at a desk or sitting in a chair. I need to just challenge the muscles gently to start with, make some space, and allow ourselves the chance to become a little bit more aware of how our body feels, specifically if there's any tight spots, holding on that we weren't aware of before we moved into the posture. We'll roll gently across and take it to the other side. An odd creak and crack maybe, following us in the spine. And going back to the center. And as we lengthen the legs out, we'll take that block and just place it between the hands. So palms face in, fingers towards the sky, block facing down towards us. And as you exhale, lengthen the toes away, draw the belly down, lower back to the floor, and let your shoulders release behind until the block touches the floor. And then yourself to inhale and flex the toes back towards you, lengthening out through the heels. Exhale, point the toes away, draw the belly down, ribs in, shoulders open, lift back up. We'll do that a few more times. And we'll take it down for the last time. I'm going to draw that block underneath the back of the head. Draw the heels in towards the body. Taking the left leg up towards the sky, I'm going to turn the toes out to the side, bending the knee. We're going to come into the figure four. So keeping the foot flexed to draw the right knee in. And we're either going to take hold of the shin, back of the thigh, whichever is available to you, because from there we will then start to use the arms and the shoulders to draw the leg in a little bit, and we use a little bit of strength in the leg muscles as well to draw ourselves in. we don't need to kind of crane the neck and lift up and get an abdominal crunch going in and start putting lots of pressure into the knee. If it's not easy to reach the shin, you use the back of the thigh. It's just as good a stretch into the left hip. Release from there. They come up to the sky, we'll bring that foot down and take it into the second side. As you exhale, let the leg come in. Take the hands through, find what is accessible, and then work from there. I'm just noticing whether both sides feel equal in terms of where they can move to, their overall texture of the muscles, if there's any strain and stretching, where does that happen? Is it in the same part of the hip, same muscle fiber corresponding to the opposite side? Or is it perhaps different? Or is there nothing there? Nothing you can put your finger on, literally, because your hands are wrapped underneath your legs, but nothing you could specifically say, oh yeah, I feel that. It's an observation in itself. Okay, we're going to release from there. Stretch that leg out. We'll take a little roll onto the right side. Use the hands to lift up. Slide the feet round towards the back of the mat. We're going to come into hero's pose. We tuck the toes underneath. Sit on the heels and let ourselves lift up. And as we do, we'll take the arms out to distract ourselves a little bit from how our toes feel. We'll bring the left arm across, right arm over the top and come into eagle arms. So we can gently bend the elbows and bring the palms together. This is a loose version of eagle arms. I'm letting the elbows sink into the chest and then trying to draw the shoulders back a little bit. We'll release the hands out. Cross them over the other way. Again, just noticing how the shoulders feel. Do they feel comparatively similar, or again, is there any big differences? Is it easier to breathe one way than the other? We'll lift up just enough to untangle the toes and then sit back down onto the heels. Release the hands. We'll come into the front of the mat, spread the fingers out nice and wide. We'll just step the legs back gently into our down dog and move that block towards the back end of the mat. I'm going to press the hands down, lift the butt up. Try and move the weight a little bit towards the back of the mat. Just checking your heels are hiding behind your ankles. You know they're somewhere down there, but out of view. Now we're going to take the down dog into a little bit of a twist. So we'll take the toes wide as the mat. We're going to walk the heels, I'm going to walk the hands in to get the point where the heels feel like they're just touching the floor. There might be a good amount of weight, or they might just be kissing, but we're still in that down dog shape. We just made it a little bit more acute. And then we're going to take the left hand away, take hold of the outside of the right ankle, and draw the chest underneath the body, twisting to the side, using the hand to help guide us round a little bit on the exhale, and trying to keep both legs comparatively straight. Now we'll release onto the floor and we'll take it to the opposite side. So we're still pressing down through that hand. Rather than collapsing into the shoulder, we are pushing away from the floor. We are pressing the heels into the ground. We are rotating the body. And we are hopefully still breathing. Okay, now bring the hands to the floor again. We'll walk the hands towards the back of the mat. And just reach through and find my block. And then move that out to the side about halfway down the mat. Turn the toes out a little bit. Bend your knees a lot. Down as low as I can. Take a couple of breaths here. Head hanging low. Draw the belly in. Drive through the legs. Ragdoll slowly back up. And then we'll zigzag the toes back in. Shake it out a little bit. Let ourselves walk up to the front of the mat. Now here we're going to take a little bit of a standing pose. So we'll bring the toes together. Remember that if your mat is high density, thick rubber, you might find that you want to step off of the mat onto the floor. It's a little bit more secure. I do have my favorite wall hanging close by as well. I'm going to take a little breath from here. Shift the weight into my left leg. Draw my right knee slowly up. And let's see if I can take my hands around the shin and draw the knee in towards the chest. It's finding something to focus on. Peripheral vision working at its optimum. So you're aware of your surroundings, but you've got to keep your concentration on a single point. Last breath in. And bring that foot down to the floor. We'll give it a little bit of a shake out. And then we'll take your feet together again. Move across to the second side. So find your point. Lift your leg. Try and keep the hips and shoulders square with where the front foot is pointing. So knee, foot, hips, shoulders, all joined up. And then we'll release from there as well. So just shake out the ankles a little bit and the thighs. And we're going to do a second balancing pose, but we're just going to work a little bit more on the quads. So first of all, I'm going to load into the left leg and draw the right knee high. And then bring the heel in towards your bottom. Take your right hand down, find your ankle. Ease the knee down to the floor and then walk your fingertips out towards the end of your toes. Now at that point, your knee is kind of hanging out to the side. So you want to draw it back into the center line a little bit, down to the floor. It's going to arch your spine. So draw your ribs down and send your tailbone down so that this front side, this anterior face, starts to get a little flatter. you need to take your left hand out to the side, you can do for a little bit of extra balance. And we can release. We'll just take that into the second side. So once your legs feel ready to rumble again, find your focus point. Draw the knee. Take your time. Bring the heel in towards your bottom. Reach down. Find the ankle. Let the knee come down towards the ground. Walk the fingers out gently. So you're bringing the heel in towards your bottom. And then bring the knees back more into parallel. Send the tailbone down. You'll immediately feel your abdominals draw in. And the ribs moving down towards the hips. Kind of zip them back up. We're looking for this flat front again. The more you're able to send the knee down to the floor, the more parallel you're in line, the flatter the front becomes, the more of an effort this takes in the body. Trying to keep that front foot on the floor, nice and level and steady. Accommodating all those little wriggles around that happen. Okay, last breath in. And we'll release that foot back down to the floor as well. So balancing section done. We'll take a little breath from there. Allow the feet to be about hip distance apart. Swing the arms up towards the sky. Take a nice big breath in. Hands through the heart. Exhale down towards the ground. Bring hands back onto the hips. Lift up. Bring the hands high. Into the heart. Exhale down to the floor. We'll take that one more time. Trying to keep the weight balanced and even through the movement down towards the floor. Step back into our down dog. I'll ease gently into a plank, bringing the knees down to the floor. So we're into tabletop. Turn the fingers outwards and let myself rock a little bit from side to side. So just being careful of how your knees feel and controlling the amount of stretch that we get through the hands and the wrists. Just moving from side to side. And then I'm going to turn the hands in. Thumbs moving out. See how that feels, and then slowly move my bottom towards the back of the mat. So we're not going to sit straight down. We're going to try and keep the heel and the hand on the floor and carefully increase the stretch through the forearms. Keep the belly drawn in a little bit as well. Press ourselves back. Release the hands gently, so back into tabletop, and then we'll walk the hands forwards into melting heart. So hands are wider than the shoulders. Ease the chest towards the floor. We're looking for a straight line between the hands, the shoulders, and the hips. So we're pressing the hands into the floor. Turn the armpits out to the side a little bit. Draw the belly in. Press the shins down. So you'll notice the gap between the shin bone and the floor decreasing. And pressure into the laces. Also starting to build. Breathe. pressing down, pushing against the floor. It's kind of an odd one. We're trying to push into the ground and let ourselves sink back down as well at the same time. So the net result of going absolutely nowhere. But feeling a lot of energy in the body. We'll move the fingers a little bit more towards us, so the bottom goes towards the back of the mat, and then it's much safer to bring the shoulders back in. We're going to come down onto the elbows. Have the elbows about shoulder distance apart. Take the hands and interlace the fingers. Tuck the little finger underneath. Tuck the toes under and lift the bottom into the sky. It's called dolphin pose. You're going to try and keep your shoulders over your elbows. And if you feel you can come up onto your tiptoes and walk the feet in a little closer, then you can. Trying to keep the legs straight, obviously. Pressing the forearms into the ground and pushing the shoulders towards the back of the mat a little bit. Amazing how this pose always manages to create cramp in my quads, my outer hips. Never my shoulders are a problem, it's always my legs. I think my body just doesn't know where it is, and it's upside down. Okay, we're going to walk the feet back a little bit. Bring the hands back out into a down dog. Now, as we come back with the hands towards the toes, we'll drag the block with us and bring that in between the ankles. Just lift it off the floor. Walk the feet in enough so we can hold the block with our ankle bones. Soften the knees. Sit back down as far as you dare. See if you can get the ribs and thighs together. Then, when you know you're safe, you can take the hands out in front, get a little extra balance, and allow ourselves to lift up halfway. So squeezing the thighs together and that block into a nice chair pose. Hands in towards the heart. We'll take a little revolution here with the right elbow across to the left side. Try and keep the knees pointing forwards, and the hips center line. We'll rotate the spine around, draw the top shoulder over to the opposite side. Try and lengthen the spine out of the pelvis. Somehow find some space to breathe. Come all the way around again, and then move into the second side. And to the center, bring the hands to the floor, head down, move the block out of the way again, walk the fingers forwards into our down dog. We'll bring the knees down to the ground, swivel the feet out to the side, sit back, and then we're going to let ourselves come down to the ground again. So roll ourselves in gently, bring the feet in, allow ourselves to draw the knees in towards the body once the head is safely on the ground, and then pointing the toes and squeezing the thighs together a little bit and take the legs up towards the sky, directly above the hips. And we do the same with the hands directly above the chest. And then we try and draw the spine into the ground, so making the back deliberately as flat as we can. And from here, we'll alternate the legs and the arms. So right arm and left leg. Lengthen out and try and keep straight, pointing the toes. And then bring yourself back up. Cross over to the other side. So we've got about a minute and a half to relax into this. And you're trying to keep the spine flat to the floor. That's your first focus. The legs and arms avoiding bumping into the ground. Second focus. Keeping the legs straight, stretching out through the fingertips. Third focus. Get the biggest gap between your fingers and your thumbs. You're really starting to feel the palm of the hand get a nice juicy stretch out as well. We'll hold the legs up towards the sky. Take the hands back all the way to the floor and then draw the elbows out wide for cactus arms. And we're trying to allow the spine to stay safe into the ground. Trying to get the legs to be as straight as we can. Now, the more the foot and the legs are directly over the hip bones, the gravity line makes it a little bit easier, but to be honest, a 90-degree angle is strong on the hip flexors for most of us. So we're going to try and relax the shoulders. And then we're going to bend the knees gently and bring them in towards the body. We'll take a little hug. So chin in towards the chest, wrap those arms around shins. And then release feet to the floor, keeping them close to your bottom. This time take the hands behind the back of your head, elbows out wide for half bow. And take a little breath, draw the belly and the spine to the floor, chin in towards the chest, and then we're going to slowly draw the chest up towards the thighs. Take the hands forwards, come up onto the tiptoes, lengthen the legs out, following the line of the body, and then bring down slowly. Spread out through the toes, press the thighs together a little bit, try and keep the legs engaged. So looking at the quadriceps, the muscles are lifted, we're stretching the hands forwards, drawing the chest and chin a little closer. And I'm going to take the legs back up slowly. Hands behind the back of the head. Bend the knees as we bring the hands and the head to the floor. Bring the feet down gently. Take a breath. We'll roll onto our right side. Use the hands for lift away from the ground. Spin the feet towards the back of the mat. We'll come back up onto all fours just for a moment. We'll sit back onto the heels. Just to take a couple of breaths. So hopefully you kind of felt something happening down this part of the body. Let the shoulders roll around a few times. And moving in the opposite direction as well. Okay, come back onto all fours. Take a little breath, tuck toes underneath, and walk the feet this time slowly into the front of the mat. So straight legs into a forward fold. And then we'll bring the hands onto the hips, soften the knees a little bit. to lift ourselves up. Take a couple of breaths here, roll the shoulders back a little bit more, both directions. And then we'll float the arms up to the sky on the breath in. Hands into the heart, exhale down to the floor. Okay, we're going to take the right foot to the back of the mat into a lunge. Come onto the fingertips. And then we'll drop the heel in to come into warrior two. Bring the hands alongside the body. Take that right hand forwards to draw ourselves up as we cartwheel into our warrior two. So then the groin's opening out a little bit. One more breath. And then we'll take the hands high. And we'll bring the hands down to the floor again. And spin the back heel up towards the ceiling and take the left hand all the way to the sky into a twist. Pressing out through the back heel, keeping the legs active. We'll bring the left hand onto the inside of the front foot. And slowly peel the right hand away from the floor and open up to the right side with the heel, hopefully, on the back foot, still pointing towards the sky. We'll bring the hand down to the floor. We'll bring hands either side and move back into our down dog. And float forwards for a plank, half plank and up dog. And we'll draw the right knee into the chest. Bring the foot through for the lunge. Press off the toes. Forward fold. Hands onto the hips, soft knees and a flat back to lift. Inhale high. Hands into the heart. Exhale down. We'll take the left foot back into the lunge. Nice and deep. Fingertips relax the shoulders. Keep the belly drawn in a little bit. Check your front knee over the ankle. We drop the heel back in again for warrior two. Slowly take a cartwheel up towards the sky. One more breath. Inhale, hands high. Come back down to the floor. Spin the back heel. Take the right hand up to the twist. Really connect our mind to the feeling and position of the back heel. Bring the right hand down onto the inside. Take a little breath. Slowly open out the left hand to the sky. So kind of pressing that front leg and arm together a little bit. Pressing out through the back heel, trying to keep the leg nice and straight. Trying to open the chest rather than pull the shoulder. Last breath in. Hands come to the floor, hands either side, and we step back into our down dog. So it's a plank, a half plank, to an up dog, to a down dog. And we'll Draw the left knee in for the lunge. Press off the toes for the forward fold. Hands onto the hips, then soften the knees, lift to gently. Inhale high, and through the heart. Exhale down. Right foot back, dropping the heel in. Now we'll let that right hand lift ourselves up. Inhale the hands high. Bring the hands onto the inside of the front foot. And slide the back leg out a little further and heel towards the sky. And then turn the front foot about 45 degrees out, letting the knee hang out from the side of the body. Take the left hand forwards, hand up, and as you do, drop your back knee down onto the floor. Lift your toes away from the floor as your hand goes over. Reach your foot. Draw the heel in towards your bottom. Open your chest to the sky. Now we're going to release the foot gently to the floor. Slowly bring that hand back. Spin the front foot back into position so we can lift and move straight back into our down dog. Take a breath in as we come into plank. Half plank as we push forwards on the toes. Inhale for the up dog with strong legs lengthening out to the back of the mat. Rolling over the toes into our down dog. We'll draw the right into the chest. Take the foot through. Take another breath. Step into the forward fold. Hands onto the hips. Roll the shoulders back a little bit. Lift up gently. Inhale high. Hands through the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Leading with the left leg. We move into our warrior two. Using that to open ourselves up gracefully into our warrior two. Once we're stable, hands lift high and come down to the floor on the inside. Back heel spins up and the leg lengthens out a little bit. Front foot takes the spin out to the side, the knee starts to hang. Right arm comes forwards, we drop the back knee down, bend the knee, bring the heel in, find the toes, invite the heel towards your buttocks as you open your chest. Now we release the foot gently, spin the hand up towards the sky, move the front foot, bring the hands back, lift into the lunge and step ourselves back into down dog. Inhale to plank, forwards for the half, lifting for up dog, rolling over toes for down dog, left knee to the chest for lunge, and then stepping through, forward fold. Hands onto the hips and we lift up. Get the hands high, bring them into your heart. Relax the hands down and shake them out a little bit. As you walk backwards, we're going to slowly, seamlessly move the block to the back of the mat now, which is where we need it. And bring the hands back in towards the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Walk the fingers into a plank. Take a little breath from plank. Draw the right knee towards the chest. Bring the foot through. Drop the back foot down. Hands alongside the body. Open up into our warrior two. Now inhale the hands high. Down to the floor, hands either side of the front foot. I'm going to step the heel towards the sky on the back. Take your right leg out so it's the same height as your hip, away from the floor. Bend your right knee, roll onto the side of your left foot, take the right foot over, and let yourself open up into a little bit of a flip dog. Now we'll come back into our plank, straight into that half plank, up dog, and back into our down dog. Draw the left knee in and bring the foot through. Drop the back heel down, hands alongside the body. Open up, warrior two. Inhale high. The hands come down either side of the front foot. The back heel lifts. The left leg goes out high. Bend your knee. Roll onto the right side of that foot. Drop the toes down to the floor as you open up. Some more breaths. Keep the hips lifting. Roll it back into the plank. Come forwards for half plank. Be careful how you position the hands. Keep the shoulders safe. And back into your down dog. Walk the hands towards the back of the mat into a forward fold. Hopefully the block isn't so far away you can't reach it. We're just going to bring that behind the heels and step heels onto corner edges of the block, toes out to the side, and then exhale down into a nice easy position. Just rub your hands together. This is where we take a few breaths. Enjoy the moment that we're in, letting the hips and the legs open. Getting used to having the arms pressing lightly into the back of the legs. Shake out those wrists. Roll them around. All directions. Take the hands forwards, about shoulder distance apart. Lean in. Bring the knees into the back of the armpits, and then lift the bottom up towards the sky with the big toes on the floor. So just getting used to balancing here. We're trying to lift the bottom high. We're squeezing the knees into the backs of the arms, and the arms pressing back out so they don't collapse in too much. Keeping the toes on the ground, just getting used to being upside down. Last breath in, and then slowly back onto your perch. Roll those wrists around again. So, you probably know what's going to come next. I'm going to take the hands forwards and walk the feet a little bit closer in. So I've got more chance now of my heels touching, even though my toes are pointing out to the side a little bit. So I can get the hips even more open. And I'm going to lift the knees as close into the armpits as possible. Take a little breath, start to squeeze the body inwards, lift the hips high, and then slowly take one foot at a time, and maybe both feet together, if you wish, away from the floor. And then we'll bring the feet back down. And we'll perch. Take a little breath from here. Let the bottom come to the floor and spin the feet towards the front of the mat. Now we're going to make sure that as we roll down, the head doesn't come onto the block. We'll leave it back there, but we just don't want to be impeded by it. We'll take the arms out wide. Take a little breath. And shimmy the hips to the right, let the legs drift to the left. And if you feel that you want to take that further, then draw the knees together, flex the feet, and as you exhale, extend the legs out to the side. It kind of depends if you've got enough room and you feel confident that you can do that with the feet on the ground and the shoulder on the floor. Otherwise, you stay in that sort of first phase. And draw the belly in and bring the heels back in towards your bottom. And then lift the knees back up to the center. Let the feet come to the floor and realign. Then we can shimmy left. Float the legs to the right. See how that feels. Now, just because we did phase 1 and 2, maybe on one side, doesn't mean we're ready for both sides. So see how your body feels. If it feels good, you squeeze the thighs together a little bit. See if that causes the shoulder to lift or any kind of undue feelings of pressure. If it feels good, you flex the feet and let the legs out to the side. You want the feet, or at least the bottom leg, resting on the ground. The feet are flexed towards you, and you're trying to lengthen out through the top leg, squeezing the thighs together still, just a little bit. And then we'll draw the knees in, or the heels in rather, and then lift the knees high and bring the feet back to the floor and realign ourselves. Now I'm going to bring the hands down by the side of the body for bridge pose. I'm going to wiggle the feet so that they feel like they're underneath the knees. And the knees are pretty much hip distance apart. So the center of your knee kind of lines up with the crest of the top of the pelvis, facing anterior knee. Turn the heels out just a fraction. I'm going to press the shoulders, wiggle them under a little bit, bring the hands in nice close to the body, palms facing down. And then this first phase, we're just going to draw the belly in and lift the body up slowly so that we get a bit of a nice line between the, or it feels like a nice line between the knees, the hips, and the shoulder joints. And we'll just see how that feels for a moment. Okay, we're going to see if we can open this up a little bit more by bringing the hands together, interlacing the fingers, and then rolling the shoulders under a little more, and starting to press the arms into the ground a little bit more, and starting to draw the chest towards the chin as we lengthen the knees, thighs, hamstrings, and buttocks towards the front of the mat. So we're starting to feel the front-facing side of the body stretching open, and hopefully a sense of getting some length in the spine as well. Now again, we'll see if we can take this a little bit higher. Now, if this feels enough for you, that's fine. You can stay here. But otherwise, I'm going to lift up onto the tippy toes to get a little bit more height. And then slowly move your hands away from the floor and try to bring them underneath back of your pelvis. So the thumbs are sort of on the back of the pelvis, hands around the side of the pelvis a little bit. And you're holding yourself up, bent arms. You might need to adjust the feet out a little wider if you're feeling sort of crampy feelings in your buttocks. And then to come out of that, you'll lift up on the tip of your toes again to make some space. So you can just move the hands out, bring the heels down, and then very gently, over maybe 1 or 2 breaths, roll the spine down to the floor. Now, obviously, when we do that, we're in a position where it feels like the body is opening. So outside of the cramp feeling in the buttocks and the hips, there shouldn't feel too much duress in any other part of the body. It should feel just overwhelmingly a good place to be. A nice stretch. That's what we're looking for. Now we'll draw the knees in again towards the body, and pretty much where we started, making some circles. This time these circles can be a bit larger, maybe. Everything should have warmed up nicely. And we'll take that in the opposite direction. Probably feeling a little bit of tilt backwards and forwards through the pelvis as well as we do this. And we'll just let those knees rest back in towards the body. Reach the hands back and find your block. Bring that slowly under the back of the head so it's just touching the head, not the neck. And we'll come into happy baby. So the knees are going to go wide and the hands will come onto the inside of the thighs. And slide the fingers down the shin as we bring the chin, and just to observe what we're doing. We're going to take the hands around the outside edge of the feet and then slowly lay the spine back down to the floor. So if there's any kind of arching in the neck, you know, if your chin feels like it's pulling towards the back of the neck, back of the mat, you want to draw the chin in a little bit to the chest so it feels like the spine and the neck are nice and long. Now we're just going to start with one side. We're going to take the right foot sole to the sky, and then they're going to use a little bit of strength in their arm and a little bit of work in the leg to draw it down. So I'm going to try to focus on activating my leg to draw down. So it's not just the arm, they're working together. And then we'll relax a little bit. And we'll bring that heel back in towards the groin as we take the opposite leg into the same position. So it's like a half-sided happy baby. And then again, roll the leg down, use your shoulder, your arm, and try to get a little bit of connection into that leg to squeeze the little devil down. It feels like a really strange position to be, trying to take the knee down and out to the side a little bit. Okay, we're going to release from there. Now we're not going to come into a full happy baby. We're just going to wiggle the fingers around and take hold of the big toe with our index finger and middle finger. I'm going to flex the feet a little bit. Draw your tailbone down to the floor and slowly lengthen both legs out. Okay, now you get it to a point and you've got quite a bit of bend in the knees. So take a breath, draw the belly in, tailbone down, and try and press the heels away to see if you can get those legs to open out a little bit more. Slow burn to open up. Still trying to keep the tailbone on the ground. If your grip kind of loosens and your foot springs away, don't worry too much. That happens to us all occasionally. Or release. Bring the feet back in. Let the feet come to the floor. And we're ready for Shavasana. So hands by the side, palms facing up, and slide a heel at a time gently out. After that big stretch, you need to just release the hip flexors. You will feel them as you lengthen them back out. Like, wow, what happened there? Eyes closed, jaw soft, shoulders relax, and then let that feeling sink down your body, down your arms, all the way down your body into your legs and toes. Feeling of letting go. Slowly wriggle the toes and the wrists and ankles as we start to breathe a little deeper. Bring that into a nice stretch if it feels right. And carefully bring the hands back alongside the body. Bring the knees slowly in, just drawing the heels in towards first, and then a little lift of the knees in, and a little hug, rock and roll, shrug. knee circles, whatever feels good at this time. And then we'll slowly exhale down to the right. Keep your breath here. And use an exhale to lift up slowly, using the hands to press into the side of the mat to lift up. Back up to nice sitting posture. The hands coming towards your heart as you take a breath in. Spine nice and long. And as you close your eyes, drop your chin, draw your belly to your spine. Let yourself bow to the floor to seal your practice for the evening. Let the breath come in, lifting the spine for you. The head follows, the eyes open. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me for a different version of moving towards our peak pose, crow. Hope you enjoyed. Have a lovely weekend. See you on the mat soon.